Tonight I want to take you into one of the most profound passages from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, because what we are looking at here is not simply a funerary text, it is a map of spiritual preservation, sovereignty, and conscious resurrection. In these sacred chapters, we are witnessing the journey of Ani, the scribe, moving through the underworld not as a victim of death, but as one who is prepared, initiated, and empowered through sacred knowledge. Every line reads like an invocation of remembrance. Every declaration is a reclaiming of power. One of the first teachings that struck me deeply in these pages is the chapter of not letting the heart be taken away in the underworld. This is such a profound symbol. In Egyptian mystery teachings, the heart was never merely an organ, it was the seat of memory, truth, moral essence, and spiritual identity. To lose the heart was to lose oneself. So when Ani speaks these words, asking that his heart not be taken, he is affirming the preservation of his truth through all trials. Spiritually, this speaks to our own lives as well. How often do people move through hardship and slowly surrender their inner truth? How often does fear attempt to separate us from our essence? This chapter reminds us that awakening requires the courage to keep the heart intact through every descent. Then the text moves into the declaration that his limbs, his body, and his being are not to be separated or corrupted. This is extraordinary because it is not simply about physical preservation. It is about energetic integrity. Ani repeatedly affirms that his limbs remain whole, that his form remains intact, that nothing in the underworld may divide him. To me, this reads as a teaching on spiritual coherence, the soul refusing fragmentation. There is something deeply alchemical here, the insistence that no force of darkness, fear, or dissolution can break apart the consciousness that knows itself. Another powerful section speaks of breathing the air and having power over the waters in the underworld. This is deeply symbolic. Air is spirit, breath, divine intelligence. Water is emotion, memory, the unconscious, and the currents of the soul. Ani is not asking merely to breathe. He is claiming mastery over both spirit and feeling. He is saying, I remain alive in consciousness, and I can move through the emotional and spiritual depths without drowning in them. This, to me, is one of the most relevant teachings for our present world. Many people are submerged in emotional waters without realizing they can learn to move through them consciously. The ancient Egyptians understood that survival in the unseen realms required both breath and navigation. Breath is awareness, water is emotion. Power over the waters means power over what would otherwise consume you. There is also the beautiful imagery of the goddess Nut pouring water into Ani's hands from the sycamore tree. This image is incredibly rich in symbolism. Nut, the sky mother, becomes the giver of sustenance between worlds. The water she pours is not ordinary water, it is nourishment from the divine feminine, a transmission of life force itself. The sycamore tree becomes a threshold symbol, rooted in earth yet connected to heaven. This is initiation imagery. Divine wisdom sustains the soul in transition. Another section that deeply moved me is the chapter of not dying a second time in the underworld. This phrase is astonishing. The first death is physical, but the second death is spiritual forgetfulness. It is the loss of consciousness, the surrender of one's awakened nature. Ani refuses this second death. He declares his place is revealed, that light shines in the darkness, that his face is open, that his heart is upon its throne. This is where the teaching becomes universal. The second death is what happens when a soul forgets its power while still living. When a person abandons their truth, suppresses their voice, and becomes separated from essence, that is the symbolic second death. These texts are not only about the afterlife, they are about life itself. Then comes one of the most mystical passages, the chapter of not corrupting in the underworld and of not perishing and becoming alive in the underworld. This is pure resurrection language. Ani speaks as one who rises, who becomes alive again, who takes on the qualities of Osiris. This is the ancient mystery of death and rebirth, to pass through darkness and emerge with greater consciousness. This is why these teachings are timeless. They reveal that transformation is not avoidance of darkness, it is the mastery of it. The underworld is the place of shadow, grief, fear, endings, and initiatory descent, but it is also the place where truth is refined. What emerges from the underworld is no longer the same being that entered. And then there is the chapter of entering into the block, the joining together of the bones, the neck, the back, the body. This may seem strange on the surface, but symbolically it is profound. This is the restoration of structure. The bones represent foundation, ancestral memory, and spiritual architecture. The soul is being reassembled. Nothing is lost. Everything that is essential is restored in divine order. This is the mystery of alchemy itself. The fragmented self is brought back into wholeness. The scattered parts return to alignment. The soul remembers its original design. When I study these ancient texts, I don't see death teachings alone. I see a manual for spiritual sovereignty, a guide for moving through initiations without losing the self, a reminder that every descent contains the seed of resurrection. And perhaps this is why these teachings still resonate so deeply today. Because so many people are walking through their own underworld right now: emotional darkness, identity collapse, endings, grief, awakening. The question is not whether we descend. The question is whether we emerge whole. These texts teach us that we can. That through sacred awareness, through remembrance, through the preservation of heart and spirit, we rise. Not as who we were, but as who we were always becoming. If this teaching awakens something within you, I want you to share in the comments. What part of yourself are you currently reclaiming from your own underworld? Your voice may help someone else feel less alone in their transformation. Follow for more ancient teachings, spiritual alchemy, and soul remembrance. And if you feel called to go deeper into your own awakening journey, the link to join the Alchemical Garden and book a one-to-one soul session is in my bio. This is where we move from knowledge into true inner transformation.